Welcome back to our Coffee and Contract series. I'm Stephen Long, broker and instructor. We are nearing the end of our conversation with the offer to purchase and contract 2T standard form. In fact, we are currently on page 11, and in this series, or in this particular video, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up page 11 through 13, as there's not a lot of content within the last few pages. However, there are some important points I want to address. First of all, on page 13, this is effectively the signature page where parties will sign. Also at the bottom of this page, in a great big box, is what used to be a standalone addendum, but it is now the wire fraud warning built into the contract. This is an important topic that you need to have good conversations with your buyers and sellers about. Probably worthwhile as a broker to investigate some further education on wire fraud. Basically, be cautious with how you're transmitting wiring instructions and wire funds. One of the best protocols that I can tell you to implement is to make sure that your buyer or seller, whomever is doing the wiring, just picks up the phone and calls the recipient, the attorney typically, who will be receiving those wires, and likewise gives them the instructions over the phone. Anytime we put things in emails or in writing like that, we run the risk of them possibly being hijacked. I had a case where a student was in class just a few weeks ago, and the seller nearly lost $500,000 in cash proceeds because someone hacked their email and sent fraudulent wire instructions to wire those proceeds to an offshore account. So we have to be very cautious, because you do not want to be the broker to have to call and give that news to your seller. So make sure you take the time to review the wire fraud section with your clients. Possibly further educate yourself on cybersecurity and things as well. Now, on page 11, it does give the seller's signature. Also, it has entity if they're buying as an LLC. So, Rental Homes LLC by Stephen Long, manager, member, or member manager. So that's where you would fill that in on page 11. Then on page 12 is the notice section. Now, a lot of people skip over this. This notice information is meant to be part of the contract, because if something notice needs to be given to buyer or seller legally, we need to know how to notify them. Many brokers are cautious to give this out, as I don't want to give my buyer's email and phone number to the other side of the transaction. Well, the contract actually specifies, and the guidelines specify, that you as a broker should never do that, should never contact the adjacent party, and always follow protocol and go through their agent. Personally, I usually put mailing address. I do often make sure that your information is included. The agency and agent notice is also here. Your firm license, your firm's your real estate license, your contact information. Make sure all that's cleared, filled out as best you can. And when you're writing the contract as a buyer's agent, take the time to go into MLS and get the information from the adjacent or the co-broke agent, and make sure you get their information filled in there too. It's a nice courtesy. It saves time to make sure that that's filled out, so we don't have to fill it out later. But that's the notice information section, so we need to at least have one good point of contact for buyer, seller, and each agent. So that is page 12. Lastly, we have page 13, and due to the movement of money, both earnest money and due diligence from, for example, a buyer might write a due diligence check to give to a seller, but they give it to their buyer's agent. The buyer's agent gives to the listing agent, and then gives to the seller. So because of the passing of checks between parties, we have basically a signature page that is in existence on page 13 and the final page of the contract, that just tracks when it was written, to whom it was delivered, until it gets to its final destination. So it's a sign and date of when you receive said money, and it deals with the listing, the earnest money and due diligence, so we can track those all the way to the escrow account or the seller's bank account if it's the due diligence. And that, my friends, is page 13 of 13. And that concludes our Contracts and Coffee series. We will pick up and continue with the addenda to the contract, and so we'll go over those. But hopefully after all of this and multiple minutes of video, you guys have a good handle on how best to practice your contracts. By the way, this is by no means a all-inclusive review of every detail of that paragraph or of that contract. Again, it is a 12-hour topic of a post-licensing class, so we've brushed over quite a lot of it, but we've hit a lot of the high points. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this will allow you to be a better practitioner and address and create better contracts. So I do look forward to helping you in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, message, or text. Have a great sales career, and I'll talk to you soon.